Breaking today, Prince William doubles down. According to multiple sources, it's now a matter of when, not if, he strips Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their royal title.
Is Meghan Markle thinking how this woman is completely unraveling? Because now she doesn't get that a royal title, it is not property. She's now threatening to sue Prince William.
A strange wave has been rolling through the global news cycle, especially across the Atlantic. Prince Harry releases yet another statement right on schedule, at moments when public attention is already focused elsewhere. The timing keeps raising eyebrows, and to many observers, it doesn't feel accidental at all.
But I do feel that actually having done it once with Andrew, you can do it again with Harry and Meghan.
By now, the pattern feels familiar. Sudden urgency, amplified messaging, and a noticeable push for visibility. Headlines spin fast, commentators jump in, and the spotlight shifts quickly. But while that noise fills the air, something far more consequential has been unfolding quietly in London, largely out of public view. As public-facing projects moved forward overseas, Prince William took a very different approach. No cameras, no constant updates, no loud announcements. Instead, there were deliberate steps handled privately away from the media cycle.
Meghan's actually threatened that she's going to take out some sort of terrible thing if it does happen, that she won't allow that to happen. But we'll see what the fight is when it gets going.
This isn't casual family chatter or tabloid speculation. It's something far more structured and calculated. Behind palace walls, careful planning has been underway for years. No leaks, no dramatic statements, just steady preparation happening across key royal residences. King Charles is widely seen as someone who leads with emotion and personal values. He holds on to ideas like forgiveness, second chances, and preserving family connections whenever possible.
She is not a blood royal, so herself, she's not titled. People keep calling her Duchess Meghan, putting the title before the name. That only applies to blood royal.
To him, being a father has always carried deep meaning alongside his public role, and he has long believed that time could eventually ease tensions and restore balance. Prince William, however, approaches the situation from a very different angle. His focus has shifted toward protecting the institution itself, even when personal relationships become complicated. Quietly and steadily, he has been shaping a framework that could significantly change how things operate behind the scenes.
Or any monarch who dares take her title away. Meghan is only using a royal title, her husband's royal title that he holds for now.
This isn't impulsive or reactive, it's structured and forward-looking. For the Sussex brand, titles that once carried public recognition and symbolic weight may not be as fixed as many assume. Once you understand the mechanics involved, it becomes clear this strategy isn't about settling scores, it's about long-term stability and adapting to modern pressures.
They have pushed themselves so far, they have behaved so badly, they still are, and they're taking what happens within the royal family and smashes it.
For years, observers have noted how Charles and William operate on completely different wavelengths. Charles has remained committed to reconciliation, guided by a traditional belief that unity holds everything together. Even after visible public strain, he kept communication channels open. According to public discussion, Prince William came to believe that repeated gestures of leniency were no longer improving the situation.
And Meghan just thinks she's too wonderful to be left out of it, and she will win because she'll go to court if she doesn't keep her title. I don't know, it's very hard. It's very hard to lose your title. But I do really hope that it's taken away. I mean, she's complained for over 6 years now.
In his view, what was intended to stabilize things may have been putting strain on the institution itself, not strengthening it. From that point forward, his approach noticeably shifted, and the difference in perspective became harder to overlook. King Charles tends to view the situation through a personal lens. He sees strange family relationships that he hopes can be repaired over time. When it comes to Prince Harry and his spouse, his response has often been guided by empathy and long-standing personal bonds.
The title does not belong to Meghan Markle. All royal titles belong to the monarchy.
William, on the other hand, evaluates the situation in a much more structural way. Where his father sees individuals, William sees systems. To him, the concern isn't emotional, it's functional. He views the framework as being pushed beyond what it was designed to handle, and that's where alarms start going off. One core belief shapes his thinking. An institution that has endured for centuries can't remain stable if public responsibility fades while symbolic recognition remains unchanged.
Just like she falsely claimed that her last name is Sussex, it's not. Well, in all this quagmire that is Meghan Markle's ignorance, we're going to get into how she's planning to sue Prince William.
In William's eyes, that imbalance simply doesn't hold up over time. While Charles continues to believe patience could eventually ease tensions, William reportedly sees an unresolved flaw that could create long-term instability if left unaddressed. He isn't waiting for formal transitions before taking steps either. Quietly and methodically, William has already been adjusting pieces behind the scenes. And here's the part most people never see. He's assembled a low-profile advisory group, far from media operations or image management. He has also sought guidance from senior advisors who understand how the monarchy actually operates beyond public view. This isn't a reaction to media coverage or high-profile entertainment projects. What's taking shape is far larger and far more methodical than that. Behind the scenes, discussions have focused on developing a clearer framework for how the monarchy functions moving forward. The goal is structure, not spectacle. Clear boundaries, defined expectations, and fewer gray areas that rely on tradition alone. For years, the system has leaned heavily on assumptions and informal understandings that everyone involved would naturally act in the institution's best interest. William appears less willing to rely on that approach. He favors written standards that are direct, consistent, and difficult to reinterpret. The idea is to remove loopholes and prevent confusion before it starts. At the core of this thinking is a straightforward principle. Authority would rest clearly with the reigning monarch to determine who officially represents the institution, not based on personal feelings, outside pressure, or historical habit, but on one measurable factor: service. Those who actively support the institution and carry public responsibility would retain official recognition. Those who choose independent paths, private ventures, or personal branding would still have autonomy, but without institutional backing. The distinction is meant to be clean and transparent. William's outlook can be summed up with one firm rule. If an institution stands for everything, it can't stand for everyone. Exclusivity, in his view, is what preserves meaning. When symbols become widely used without responsibility, their significance fades. When titles shift from service roles to promotional tools, clarity is lost. This isn't about hostility, it's about definition. From this perspective, William isn't reacting emotionally. He's examining what has allowed the monarchy to remain stable over generations. His focus stretches far beyond the present moment, weighing what the institution needs not just for the next decade, but for the next century and beyond. In those models, relevance was preserved through structure, not spectacle. No loud transitions, no constant explanation, just steady adjustments made behind the scenes. That research is now shaping a modern operational guide based on what functions today, rather than relying only on inherited custom. This is where William's leadership style sharply contrasts with what King Charles has traditionally favored. Charles is known for seeking balance, searching for compromise, and trying to keep everyone connected through flexible arrangements. A solution that softens edges and maintains harmony has often been his instinct. William, by contrast, appears finished with flexible interpretations. His approach is direct and disciplined in its simplicity. Standards are set, applied equally, and not revised based on personal preference. Acceptance isn't mandatory, but compliance is. From this perspective, the monarchy isn't a casual family structure that allows selective participation. It's a formal institution with a defined public purpose. In or out, committed or independent, no overlapping roles, no special lanes. And this isn't just conceptual planning. There's an established constitutional mechanism that allows these changes to happen, and its name sounds deceptively ordinary. It's called letters patent. Despite the plain label, this tool carries substantial authority. Letters patent allow the reigning monarch to formally define titles, status, and official roles. No public vote, no extended deliberation, just a clear legal instrument used to set the rules going forward. With a single document and one formal signature, the entire structure can change almost instantly. To understand how serious this mechanism is, history provides a clear example. In 1917, King George V reviewed the state of the monarchy and concluded that official titles had become too widespread. Distant relations, unclear roles, and loosely defined connections were diluting their meaning. Prestige was slipping, and he chose to act decisively. Through letters patent, he sharply reduced who was formally recognized. Individuals long viewed as part of the royal structure were reclassified under the new rules. The transition was orderly and administrative. No prolonged public disputes, no extended explanations, just updated standards put into effect.
That moment reveals how this system operates. When the sovereign signs, the framework adjusts. No external approval process is required, and adaptation becomes immediate reality. Many assume that decision permanently locked the structure in place, but history shows otherwise. Successive monarchs have issued new letters patent when circumstances demanded change. The process has been used repeatedly as the institution evolved over time. And this is where William's advisory group reportedly enters the picture. According to public discussion, a modern draft has already been prepared. It is described as complete, carefully structured, and securely held within official channels. The updated framework is said to be very clear. Only those actively serving the institution in an official, ongoing capacity would retain titles and formal status. Others would remain part of the private family structure with personal relationships intact, but without institutional roles. Private access and personal connections would remain, but without formal institutional standing. Let that idea settle for a moment. This process doesn't require years of discussion or public endorsement. It hinges on a single formal step. Once signed by the reigning monarch, the change becomes official immediately. In practical terms, that signature could redefine the entire landscape overnight. Public identity within the royal framework is closely tied to official titles, and those titles carry specific meaning and recognition. If formal acknowledgement is removed, the shift is structural, not symbolic. Meghan's public profile has long been associated with one defining label, Duchess. If that designation were no longer formally recognized, everything connected to it would change just as quickly. The foundation wouldn't disappear, but it would transform. Yes, marriage to a prince would remain a personal reality. However, without institutional backing, the designation becomes informal rather than operational. It may still sound prestigious, but it no longer carries the same authority or access in professional environments. That distinction matters. Titles within the monarchy aren't decorative, they serve a functional role. Public positioning, credibility, and recognition often flow directly from that official status. Many of the professional opportunities tied to Meghan's public presence have leaned on that recognized connection. Speaking engagements, media projects, partnerships, these introductions consistently reference that royal association. She hasn't been presented simply as a public figure. She's been framed as someone connected to the institution but operating independently. That contrast is the defining hook, the element that sets her apart. Look closely at the branding history. The title appears alongside her name in podcasts, publications, interviews, and collaborations. It's been front and center, shaping perception and sustaining interest. That title functions as the foundation layer. Everything else builds on top of it. Now imagine that foundation quietly disappearing, not through conflict or public spectacle, but through routine administrative action. No dramatic moment, no heated exchange, no headline-grabbing confrontation, just a formal update released through established channels, and suddenly the entire setup looks different. Once that shift happens, practical questions follow quickly. How does that change professional value? How does it affect introductions at major events when there's no official royal identifier attached? Interest might still exist, of course, but does it carry the same weight? As one industry observer put it, without that single word, there's no anchor. Public attention moves fast, trends rotate, interest shifts, and new personalities constantly step into the spotlight. Celebrity operates on momentum, but monarchy operates on permanence. That distinction matters. One is driven by visibility, the other by institutional legitimacy built over centuries. The gap between those two categories is significant. Media projects could still move forward and visibility could remain, but there's a clear difference between being well-known and being institutionally recognized. The most striking part is how quietly all of this could unfold. No announcements, no reaction cycle, just an update and the landscape adjusts. Entertainment industries don't operate on sentiment, they operate on value calculations. Deals are driven by exclusivity, by angles others can't duplicate. One example appears to have stood out in particular: Denmark. The Danish monarch made a decisive administrative change that quickly drew attention across royal circles in Europe. Several close family members had their formal royal titles redefined in a single clear action. There were no drawn-out explanations, no prolonged public debate. The reasoning was practical and straightforward. Too many titles had blurred the distinction between those officially representing the crown and those living private lives, so the structure was simplified. The message became easier to understand and the framework tightened. William is said to have followed this situation closely, tracking public reaction and observing how the transition was managed afterward. At first, the move wasn't universally welcomed. There was visible discomfort and public discussion. But over time, the outcome became clearer. The monarchy emerged more focused, with defined roles and clearer expectations. The public could easily identify who carried official responsibilities and what those roles meant. The institution didn't lose relevance, it gained clarity. That result didn't go unnoticed. According to observers, William took careful notes. The takeaway was direct: act calmly, act decisively. Don't chase immediate approval, avoid prolonged uncertainty. Set the standard, communicate it, and move forward. That approach demonstrated how quickly a monarchy can adapt when boundaries are clearly enforced. Life continued, roles adjusted, and the system stabilized. The broader lesson was hard to miss. Monarchies that endure tend to adapt before external pressure forces change. William appears to have taken that insight seriously. Public discussion suggests he has quietly consulted experts across Europe, repeatedly returning to one central question: how can an institution remain relevant without losing what gives it authority? The response has been consistent. Clear boundaries matter. The monarchies that function best draw firm lines: who is officially in, who is private, and what responsibilities come with each. No overlap, no confusion, no blended roles. Denmark showed that selective responsibility could work, and that clarity could strengthen the whole system. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, observers noticed subtle shifts. Industry chatter began referencing possible structural updates and title-related changes more frequently. The key question became simple: what happens next? Those around Meghan are generally viewed as organized and strategic, and they understand how closely her public positioning has been tied to official royal associations. So, according to public discussion, scenario planning intensified. Different options were considered, angles were tested, and contingencies were explored to protect what had been built. Then, a more ambitious concept reportedly came up. What if the title could function like a business identity? What if Duchess of Sussex could be treated like a protected brand name? On the surface, it may have sounded practical, A brand can be managed, structured, and defended. But public reporting and commentary suggest palace advisors anticipated that direction quickly. Before any idea like that could progress, policies around commercial use of royal titles were reinforced through standard internal processes. The message was clear: official designations are not private assets. One observer summarized the imbalance in a vivid way, saying it felt like showing up with checkers to a chess match. The point wasn't personal, it was structural. While one side explored branding strategy, the other side had reportedly already reviewed the full landscape, procedures, precedents, and institutional safeguards.
The principle is straightforward. The institution grants official titles, and it also defines how those titles can be presented publicly. Turning royal status into a private commercial identity is not treated as an open option within that framework. This is also where the contrast in leadership styles becomes more visible. Rather than flexible arrangements, the approach described here is rules first, clear lines, limited interpretation, and no reliance on informal understandings. So how could the institution stay ahead of these possibilities? The answer, according to public discussion, is preparation, not quick brainstorming, but methodical planning. Nothing was left to chance, and this is where the strategy becomes especially clear. The most effective part wasn't inventing new rules, it was activating ones that already existed. Centuries of protocol had quietly built in safeguards, and all that was required was putting them back into motion. The monarchy has faced pressure, scrutiny, and testing moments for generations. Time and again, the institution responded the same way, by adjusting internally, tightening definitions, and reinforcing structure. Adaptation has always been part of its survival model. William's advisory group didn't try to reinvent the system. Instead, they revisited long-established frameworks and identified which traditional mechanisms still applied to modern circumstances. Some of these rules had been overlooked or rarely discussed, but they were still valid, still functional, and still enforceable. Once those provisions were reactivated, the process became remarkably straightforward. Everything aligned logically, and the structure held firm. Support for these steps emerged quietly and deliberately. The language surrounding them focused on modernization, efficiency, and clarity for a contemporary audience. Framing mattered. Presented this way, the changes appeared forward-looking rather than reactive. After all, clarity is difficult to argue against. Streamlining sounds reasonable. Modernization feels necessary. By grounding every adjustment in tradition, the moves avoided appearing personal or targeted. That foundation made resistance unlikely. Challenging an institution for using its own established systems is a difficult case to make. When rules have existed for generations, enforcing them isn't viewed as unfair, it's viewed as continuity. Systems designed centuries ago were activated for a moment exactly like this, and after all the interviews, headlines, speculation, and non-stop commentary, this is where everything settled. There's a noticeably different tone coming from Buckingham Palace now. Calm, controlled, focused. It feels like direction has finally replaced reaction after years of responding to external pressure. There's renewed confidence in how the institution presents itself. Even longtime critics have acknowledged the precision of the approach. Agree or disagree, many recognize it as careful, deliberate strategy. William is no longer positioned as someone simply waiting his turn. He's already shaping outcomes quietly and methodically. Rather than reacting publicly, he's allowing structure and precedent to do the work. No public back and forth, no emotional responses, just steady decisions grounded in established systems. The result is an institution that appears sharper, more intentional, and more unified than it has in years. Confidence has replaced defensiveness. Clarity has replaced uncertainty. Meanwhile, Meghan's public story continues, but under evolving conditions. The role of royal association within that narrative is clearly shifting, and with it comes a new set of realities. The central question now lingers quietly. Without formal institutional backing, how does that public positioning translate in high-level spaces?
What carries the pitch when historic royal legitimacy is no longer part of the presentation? What stands out most is how calmly this transition unfolded. No confrontations, no personal escalation, just evolution. The institution didn't react emotionally. It adopted using the same frameworks that have sustained it for generations, applying them to a modern moment. While public attention focused on noise, strategy was unfolding elsewhere. Not louder, not faster, just deeper. And that may be the biggest takeaway. Influence doesn't always come from visibility. Sometimes it comes from understanding the system better than anyone else. If you've got thoughts on this, drop them in the comments below. If this breakdown gave you a new perspective, make sure to like the video, share it with someone who'd find it interesting, and subscribe for more deep dives like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.